is a webinar, so you're not going to see a bunch of participants that are going to show up on the screen. But I can tell you we've got people joining right now because my numbers that I can see are going up. So we will give everybody a couple of seconds to get on here before we get going. Make sure you guys have your have a beverage for our toast at the end. And while we're waiting for others to join, I will just welcome the folks that are already on. I hope you're having a fabulous afternoon. I think here in Austin, it's supposed to be up to 107 today. So trying to keep cool.
It's beautiful.
All right. Yeah, that's always my my usual summer goal, is to get somewhere out of the state of Texas that is cooler, much cooler.
I heard a saying today that shade in Texas is just diet heat. It's still
all right
where you are.
Yeah. It is 3:02, so I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off. We have had a question as to whether or not Brian is in his home office or not. I think it is the home office, right?
I am in the friendly confines of my house, yes.
All right. Well, so that was one of the first things I was going to tell all of our participants. Please feel free to shoot out some questions along the way. It always makes for a more interesting discussion when we've got questions in the middle of things, so you don't have to wait till the end or anything. But so good afternoon, and welcome to the final Society 54 Thirsty Thursday of our 6-part series, What's Next? Rockin' the New Era of Law Firm Culture. I'm Cecilia Linton. I'm the Senior Director of Operations and Communications at Society 54, and I'm going to help moderate today's webinar. Today we're talking harder, better, faster, stronger, maintaining a culture of resilience and innovation. And our panelists today are Jeanne Hammerstrom from Benesch and Brian Dare from Dentons. Our third panelist, Jennifer Carmen from Troutman, had a conflict come up and she's not going to be joining us, but she did share some thoughts on our topic that I'll include as we move forward. So first, let me give a little background on our speakers. Jeanne Hammerstrom is Benesch's Chief Marketing Officer. She has over 30 years of legal marketing experience. She has responsibility for business development, client service, and marketing communications. Jeanne has a passion for helping legal marketing professionals develop their skills and advancement in the industry. She's been active in LMA for almost 30 years. She was honored in 2019 by the Legal Marketing Association as an inductee to the Hall of Fame. She's a former president of LMA and serves as co-chair of the 2020 Hall of Fame Committee and the Advocacy Advisory Council. When not speaking or writing for the legal marketing industry, she enjoys time with her family and team members at Benesch. Welcome, Jeanne.
Thanks.
Our other participant is Brian Dare. Brian is the Business Development Director for Dentons US. He leads a national team that helps drive revenue growth and client engagement for the US region of the firm. Brian has worked in legal marketing for approximately 20 years and has held marketing and business development leadership roles with both international and regional firms, including Foley & Lardner, Baker Botts, Gardier, and Strasburger Price. Before pursuing a marketing and business development career, Brian played minor league baseball for the Atlanta Braves organization.
Fun.
Thank you, Brian, for being here.
Well, thank you, Cecilia.
All right. So diving straight into our topic, because there's a lot to discuss as far as resiliency and innovation in law firms these days. I had found a Harvard Business Review article that is titled Building a Resilient Organizational Culture. And it was actually written after the 2008-2009 downturn, but a lot of the principles are true today. And we've looked at some other articles, and still some of the same things keep coming up. So they boiled it down to a couple of things. There were things about the people within an organization, and then some things about resiliency for the organization itself. So as far as things that firms need to know about their people to help them be resilient is that people prosper from success. So success breeds success. People learn while observing others. So making sure that there are opportunities for people to learn from each other. Providing encouragement, support, and mentoring is important. And that providing some basic training on how to manage personal stress is going to go a long way to making sure that your employees are able to participate in the success of the firm. Some of the things that they found that resilient organizations do is they invest in their client base. They innovate in times of adversity, don't just hunker down. They invest in their leaders, and they invest in all levels of their workforce. So it sounds simple, right? But as we all know, there are always obstacles to getting things done, and there's always definitely resistance to change. So what I thought I would do just to start with today is ask in general, what have our panelists, what are they seeing out there in the legal space? Anything fun and exciting and innovative that you're excited about right now? What are you doing to help your people prosper? That kind of stuff.
I'll start, I guess. I'm sorry, I don't know what screen I'm looking at, so I'm sorry if I'm like all over the place. So I'll start by first saying, and you hear this all the time, but because I've been around for a long time and I've been through 3 downturns, this is really different. This is different from the financial downturns where we sort of plan and then we, hold our breath and we know that it's going to be over. This has just been very strange, and it has, from the personal and mental side of things, been really, really different. I don't remember when we had downturns before worrying about people's personal mental health so much before. It really, and I know we've been more aware of it the last few years because of our millennials and all that kind of stuff, but this is very, very different. This is really affecting people a lot more, I think, and differently. So it is challenging to really plan. But having said all that, I have seen a lot of positive things sort of come from this. And I know that, but you have to bring it to the forefront. And I think maybe that's some of the things we're going to talk about today, some of the things we're doing that are positive. And it is, up to us to sort of help bring that message and show that message. And I'll just leave it at there right now, sort of as a general comment. And then maybe if we have some specific questions or we can address those as to some of those positive people kind of things we're doing. But again, I just think it's a very different, at least for me, it's been a very different time where I have, I've had to really rethink almost everything, personally and professionally.
Well, just to pick up on that, I think unlike 2007, 2008, which was a fairly, certainly a dramatic economic impact on the country, there weren't these side effects that dealt with personal mental health outside of a couple of industries that was really resonating across the country. And so for me, over the last couple of months, a couple of things have really struck me. One is there's so much disruption going on in our industry right now. There has never been a better time to build on the relationships that people have with their clients. I don't think I've ever seen the opportunities like this where lawyers who may have 1 or 2 relationships are able to have a much more meaningful conversation, because clients not just need legal help, but business or enterprise help, as well as dealing with the personal situation that they have. We're also, there's a lot of market studies out there through organizations like Acritas or BTI that are sharing lots of insights about what clients are going through. And to me, that's very positive, because certainly nobody wants the pandemic to continue, but it's opening up doors to have really meaningful conversations with clients, because they just never dealt with this kind of situation before. And they're looking for lawyers to help not only solve, again, the legal issues, but how do we deal with this in the long term? There's just so much unknown that it's really an opportunity to collaborate and think through, okay, what will September look like? What will November look like? Those aren't conversations that have typically happened in relationships with law firms. So I think there's some real opportunity for client development and client growth. On a personal level, just having so much more conversation by Zoom and virtual environments, you're getting insights into people's homes, into their personalities. That just hasn't happened before. I mean, how often have you had a conversation with a client where they're sitting and having a dialogue with you, and all of a sudden a kid runs by in the background or a dog barks? It just doesn't happen, or hasn't happened. So we're seeing some more personality infused into these conversations. And I think that's making the relationships more human and more authentic. And to me, again, that's a positive, because all of a sudden there's more to connect with. And not only are the business concerns and legal concerns a part of that, but all of a sudden you're dealing with the person on the other end of the Zoom call who has kids or has family or has other issues that are now coming to light as part of these conversations. So all of that together, I think, has brought some real opportunity for lawyers to connect in ways that they just have never done before. And for a marketing and business development professional, it gives you lots of ideas on how to help facilitate that.
Well, that's exciting to hear, just because I know that as an in-house person, you were constantly trying to tell the lawyers to call the clients, ask the clients, how are they doing? What are they doing? What are the issues that they're seeing? And so many of them have always struggled with that, or they've resisted that, or, I don't want to just call them for no reason. And I feel like because of a lot of this that's going on, and because of the uncertainty, and it is something we've never seen, I think it's easier to get lawyers to in some ways to say, just call your client, ask them some questions. How they doing? In this craziness, what's going on? We did have a question during that, Brian, that some folks would like to know more about the studies that you referred to, which we can provide in follow-up, but I just wanted to warn you that I might want some more information on that a little bit later. So
all I will say is you need to follow Jeanne on LinkedIn. She posts pretty regularly about the different topics that she speaks on and the surveys that Acritas is putting out. Some fantastic insights on what she's seeing from the client's view, and how law firms can adapt to that and really take advantage of it. So I encourage you to follow her on LinkedIn.
There's definitely some good stuff out there. I think Patrick Fuller put out some stuff too the other day. Exactly. That was new research. So yes, but in the follow-up from this, I'll put some stuff out there. So one of the things that was in the list from the Harvard Business Review, and Jeanne, you touched on it, was about how are we celebrating success. And that was one of the things that was done for both individuals and corporations as a whole as being important to resiliency and innovation. What are you guys doing in that realm?
So we're really doing a lot of different things. I think one of the things, and I'll talk sort of internally and externally. Internally, it's been sort of difficult, I think, for some marketing teams, because the focus has been so IT and HR focused that sort of, not that you're forgotten, but you're doing what you're supposed to do, but you're just not as visually out there as you usually are. So my managing partner came to me and said, listen, we need to have positive messages going out in the firm, and because there's so much good stuff going on, and Jeanne, especially in your area, that's where it's really coming together. We're doing great in business development and marketing. Let's let people know that these good things are happening, because I don't want everyone to just get, caught up in the, what's going on in the media and what's going on, just with the industry itself. So we put together an agenda for an associates meeting and a staff meeting, which actually happened today. Both of those meetings happened today, and kicked it off with a video thanking certain critical people who have really held it together a lot since this all happened. Everyone from the receptionist who's been here since day one, to somebody on my team who's been doing all the content that's been on our resource center and that kind of thing, to the attorney who helped with all the PPP loans night and day with clients and stuff like that. So it focused on about 20 certain people to date, and then said, we want more. So, let us know who else has been a hero, kind of thing. So we started with that, and then just went into, Greg really thanking everyone for being there for each other and for our clients. We are actually having fairly good year, but there's a whole nother quarter. So we want to keep the momentum going and the positivity for those who are here. So we did that, and then we did our usual, go through the finances and the operations and those kind of things. And when it came to my turn, I talked about all the successes we've had with pitches and RFPs, which I don't know, I'm thinking everyone else on this call probably has seen an uptick in those like never before. I think clients have the time to really put them together now. And I think there's pressure for them to do budgeting and look at the rates they're paying and what they're getting for that. So this year, we're probably going to exceed any other year in the number we've responded to. So that's a good thing. But the other part of that was of my presentation was, and we were going to talk about this a little bit later, is that the clients have also taken the time to do client assessments like I've never seen before. We have a real a big number of those as well that we've already completed this year. We exceeded last year total. So clients are taking the time to meet with us. I think, again, to Brian's point, they're comfortable, they're at home, they have time, they're not on the road somewhere. And they don't feel the pressure of having to, pick up a call when they're in the airport or something. So they've really made the time to talk to us. So I talked about those, and then, of course, the content and stuff, but also we've been very fortunate in a lot of the media mentions, which, we're a mid-sized firm, out of Cleveland, but we've gotten a lot of great stories about our growth and about the things that we're doing here. So anyways, we were able to communicate all that today to both staff and to thank them for all they've been doing. Because my team couldn't do what they did without the staff, without the associates on the client teams. So.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, and again, the fact that you're getting more feedback from the clients, I think also important. Again, one of the things that we always try and coach lawyers on is, to find out what the clients want. And that's part of the Harvard article about resilient organizations and investing in their client base. So, what are you guys doing? Brian, I'll ask you, is there anything that you're doing that you can share as far as recognizing, your clients, or, partnering with them, or, really just what are you doing for your long-term clients to make sure that they're doing okay?
No, it's a great question. I mean, I think one of the things that, and we all recognize that strong client relationships are valuable, but the last 5 months have absolutely reinforced the need to focus on building these further with, authentic and genuine connections. Sometimes a crisis is a good thing to help motivate changes in behavior. I mean, it's an opportunity, I think, for us to look at clients in a different way. We've had a lot of opportunity to introduce new services to clients because they've been severely impacted or disrupted by COVID-19, particularly in the hotels and leisure space, retail, even manufacturing. They don't come to us for the same type of legal services that they did 6 months ago. They're asking for different types of advice. And because we had strong relationships in place to begin with, it's really opened up some conversations with some different angles. At the core, it's cross-selling, but because we're looking at this as, how do we help them, more of an act of excellent client service and really trying to provide the right experience to help address these new issues. It's created some real opportunities for new work. And I think most importantly, it's helped the clients feel comfortable that we're looking out for their well-being and interests on an enterprise level, not just in particular areas that we've historically worked with them on. Even our more traditional practices like healthcare, white collar litigation, corporate, they're having to shift quite a bit and deliver those services through virtual or digital media. That's not something they've typically done. So, when you're negotiating a deal or you're trying to take depositions, the actual work, doing that in a virtual environment has been a big change for us, but we've been able to adapt to that. And I think clients see the value in it and it's making a difference. And one thing our CEO said back in May, all the way back in May, the first 3 months of COVID-19, the pandemic really accelerated the evolution of the legal industry by 5 years. So in 3 months, we've seen dramatic change, and that was just through May. We historically would staff matters based on where the lawyers office. So, typically a senior partner would pull together a team that's built out of people that he or she knows that are in their geography. Those lines are completely erased now. And so now we're staffing matters with lawyers from various geographies, and instead of relying on those that they typically know. Not necessarily a novel approach, because I think everybody tries to put together the right team no matter where the lawyer resides, but it is an important step for us, because all of a sudden there was less concern about travel, less concern about budget, and more concern about how can we present a diverse team that has the right experience that can meet the client's needs. So all of those changes have been a big part of how we've really helped clients, but I don't think it would have happened if we hadn't, or happened as fast if we hadn't gone through
Right.
some of the crisis steps that we've had to take.
Right. All right. Through adversity comes change. We've had a question that came in that says, we are seeing clients turning towards inquiries on sustainability, pro bono, diversity, etc., the soft skills of legal marketing. How do you see marketing departments shifting in this new focus, given this social impact emphasis and cultural environment? How do you think those elements will impact client service and the overall legal marketing? Jeanne, just because you said you've done several proposals, I know that those questions are coming up more and more in proposals. So is that something that you're addressing in those? What do you see in that area?
That's a really good question, and yes, in proposals and in assessments, as these are coming up constantly, clients are actually offering to help us with some of these issues. I don't know if I want to call them issues, but anyway, they're willing to help us with these, because a lot of times, if it's a pitch or if it's an assessment, they're going to ask about our diversity. They're going to ask what we're doing about Black Lives Matter and our racial justice. They're going to ask, these kind of things, because it's important to them. Almost, it's, I can say this anywhere. We're trying our best, we're doing our best, but we're relying on them to help us too. I think I told the story. We had an associate meeting shortly after the George Floyd incident, and it was like a week or two after, and one of the Black associates, a woman, raised her hand and just said, you seem to respond really quickly and well to the COVID, pandemic and everything. I don't feel like you responded as quickly and as well to this. And you know what? My managing partner said, thank you. I didn't know how to. And she gave him a step-by-step, here's what you need to say, do, whatever. And now has really been very vocal about this, has helped us and has worked with clients on helping us and helping them. In fact, she was quoted in Oprah's magazine the other day. But here's a young associate who basically is saying, so it taught us, by the way, it's a teaching moment. So to the question too, it was a teaching moment to us saying, you don't know, ask, kind of thing. We tell our kids that all the time, So I think we're all learning. We're all trying to say the right things and the right answers and do the right thing. But I think we all could help each other a little bit there. This is one time I would say law firm marketers unite and sort of help each other with this, because I think it's a common cause, all of these, and it's not just a who can do it first kind of issue. So I'll leave it at that.
No, I think you're right about, especially on the not doing the who can do it first, because I do think obviously there were a lot of companies that tried to do some very quick things that did not go over well because they didn't feel like, other people didn't feel like they were sincere. So,
Right.
Brian, were you going to say something?
I was just going to add to it. I mean, diversity and inclusion is a big part of our culture, and culture is really important to us. We think it's absolutely mandatory that we focus on how do we promote diversity and inclusion, and not just make it a statement, but actually deliver on that in the services we provide, in the talent we recruit, and in the clients we work with. I mean, I think it's always been an important part of how firms operate, but certainly in recent months, with some of the social and economic changes that groups are seeing, it's even more critical to be focused on how do we do this at a community level? How do we do this at a broader level? And so we are certainly focused on supporting those efforts, and it comes in the form of some work we're doing with some charities in certain markets that we serve, contributing both time and resources to organizations that are trying to improve the quality of some of these situations where people are really struggling. And we see that as part of our service, giving back to the community that we operate in. But it certainly is something that's top of mind for us as we look to, again, help clients with their needs, but also help our communities that we operate in.
Right.
Great. Yeah. So, speaking of helping others, as far as providing that encouragement and support and mentoring within the organization, are you guys doing anything different? I know, Brian, you said that your teams were being built differently. So are you doing anything to try and help people manage that kind of change within the organization already? Or is it just something that's happening organically?
Well, I mean, change is always going to be a part of legal marketing. I think that's one of the exciting parts of what we do, is that the market changes and the client changes all kind of dictates a need to be resilient and innovative. In response specifically to COVID-19, we have worked with our professional development teams and our HR talent teams to help provide education on different skill sets, because there is a little bit of downtime in some cases. It's an opportunity for people to get engaged with things that they may not have had time for previously. It's an opportunity to learn more about adapting to change and mental well-being, and how do you work remotely. There are many people in our organization who've never worked remotely, and that's a huge lifestyle change, and with that comes a lot of learning curve. And I recognize that every firm has separate groups for professional development or HR and talent development, but the really important takeaway is that we have an ongoing effort to help encourage development and want to demonstrate a genuine appreciation for everyone's situation and their circumstances, and how do we be inclusive. One of the things we did just on our own marketing team, because my team is spread out all over the country, hosting virtual coffees with team members just to connect and talk about topics other than work. We even did a little social distancing bingo. That was quite fun. And it just brought some comedy relief, and I think helped disrupt some of the tension and stress people were feeling, especially at that time. It's just a great way for the team to learn a little bit more about one another, help hear some funny stories, but also help address the distance that we're all dealing with,
Right.
and yet still having to work very closely together in some way. So try to be supportive with everybody and offering some formal programs, others less formal, but all with the goal of keeping people connected and engaged.
It's interesting because I think for every story that I've heard of people really loving, like, hey, we did Zoom yoga, or we did Zoom, coffee, or we did something like that. I've got a whole other set of people who are like, oh my gosh, if I have another Zoom happy hour, I'm just going to, there you go.
Yeah, I agree.
So what do you do, Jeanne? What do you do when you hit that point?
Oh, I just tug along. I really do. I agree. There's so many great ideas out there, virtual ideas of, getting people together, we have a step contest right now for the firm. There's teams, and every day we get an update on, who's winning and all that kind of stuff. So we've done a couple of those different things firm wide. For my team, I did have a social distance lunch at one of our directors' houses. We had a picnic kind of thing. So that was nice to finally see each other and give virtual hugs. So, you try to help with those kind of things, but everyone has their own individual circumstances, like Brian was saying. I mean, we did a survey for the firm probably 2 months into this, and HR is trying to figure out, like, how's it going? How's it going for you? How's it going for you as their boss, and how's it going for them? So sort of putting all those together. And then I did, and I don't know if I was going to talk about this now or later, but I 2 weeks ago did a survey to our attorneys, asking basically a client assessment. How are we doing? Are we still providing the same quality? Is it, is there anything we're missing? That kind of thing. Because again, it's hard to tell how they're feeling, what they're feeling. Are they, getting the same responsiveness? Are they getting the same product, quality of product, and those kind of things? So I think, again, it's asking. You got to ask how you're doing, like we do with our clients. And I think those are very helpful. And then just regular check-ins. I think you have to do regular.
I think
I like being home. No, I didn't like being home at first. I was sort of angry. Then I sort of got a thing going where I'm like sort of liking it. And now, like, I'm ready to go back. Like, it's one of those where I go up and down too. So
yeah. Well, speaking of assessments, we've had a question for you specifically, Jeanne, that said that they're glad to see that the client assessments are on the uptick, but it seems counterintuitive, and that relationship partners may use COVID as an excuse not to do client assessments. What kind of leadership support do you have for them? And are they mandated, or have partners brought it in on their own to do?
You know what? They're not mandated. For some reason, maybe it's, because they are, again, I think that commute time gives them a lot more time to do things, including my partners. I think they really thought it through, and more of them are getting involved. I think they see, if my managing partner can make the time to, have us do a client assessment. And by the way, I do it with my chairman. We usually do all the assessments. And if they're making the time, then I should be able to make the time. And then they see, because we share the results, and we've been sharing the results more broadly. We used to just do it with the team, and we're sharing more broadly in practice groups and some partner meetings. And I think it almost shows them the importance of doing this. And they don't know how, they can't bring them to a game. They can't bring them to a concert. So I think they see this as an alternative to that maybe at least it can be doing something with their client. And by the way, they're not really having to do much but have us go out and, talk to them. So it still keeps them, away from it. But it's really been, everyone's been very engaged with it.
Great. So one of the other things that was brought up in the article about resilient organizations was investing in both leaders and in workforce. And I know that comes in different forms, and a lot of that is sometimes handled by either the HR group or the training group. But what have you seen in that area? I'm sure that some of the leaders at this point are up to their eyeballs in leading and don't really, what do you do for them at this point? It may or may not be the right time for, hey, we need to talk about your style. But as far as staff goes and things like that, is there, are there, I like that for your staff, you said, you did the socially distant meeting, things like that. That is part of the investment for them, not just in training for the job, but because a lot of the mental health stuff has come up, and keeping people, healthy in all aspects to be able to do their jobs better. I don't know if that translates for any of the associates that you have. Is this a time where there is time for them to do some sort of, career assessment, career development, things like that? Or are we just trying to, hold all the pieces together right now?
Yeah, I'll take this one. I'm sure every firm could benefit from an organized leadership coaching or training program. The challenge really is how do you fit this into today's schedule as well as the budget? These things are not a low-cost investment, and so you try to balance with the current skill sets of management versus what we think they should get to, while also anticipating or dealing with the kind of day-to-day that's really shaping a lot of new behavior. I mean, many clients are truly in difficult situations, and our efforts really have been focused on how do we deliver great service and help them with, not just the legal decision, but the enterprise business decisions. That in and of itself has helped, I think, give people different perspectives on how they might apply those to our own organization, what they're learning from their clients as they deal with some of these issues, whether it's return to work or whether it's compliance programs. All of these things have given, I think, our leadership some different perspectives and how we might apply it to what we're doing. The good news is for us, our leadership is really transparent and engaged, and that's, I think, had a really positive impact on the partners. So, not necessarily a formal training, but a significant investment of time to communicate and collaborate in response to the pandemic has really helped, I think, raise the understanding and appreciation for what leadership looks like, and taking some cues from our clients in the process is really helping shape that as well.
Okay.
And I'll add to that a couple things. So we've had lots of regular business development training that myself or people on my team have provided, and I've used outside consultants. The first one we did was how to talk to your clients during COVID, and we used an outside consultant for that. So in the BD marketing area, we've had lots of training, lots of good content. We have a professional development person who is doing great with their expertise and their professional development of the attorneys themselves. I will tell you that I'm taking notes from this whole experience because I think our leaders could use some training after seeing, how do you react to this? How do you, even the financial downturns, you learn so much on leadership and how to be a leader that I couldn't even train them if I wanted to, or I don't think my PD person could, because I just don't, again, you have so many aspects of this. I don't know how to train for all of it, but I think that we can come up, all of us collectively, I think on this webinar can come up with a really great program after we get through this.
I know some consultants who might be willing to help you.
So, Cecilia, if I can add just a couple of thoughts. So one of the things that has, I think, really helped change some of our leadership behavior is working remotely, because it's required that the practice group leaders stay in touch regularly with all levels of lawyer within their groups. And, again, historically, if you're if you're based in Dallas as a practice group leader, you don't often have a reason to reach out to somebody in Chicago or New York or San Francisco. Now they do, because everybody's working remotely, and because there's been much more emphasis on staying in touch with people, making sure they're, the plate's full and they've got work to do. It's helping build rapport in a way that historically just didn't happen organically. And I think those conversations are really helping our leaders develop more empathy and appreciation for what the teams are going through. And so that has, I think, had a tremendous impact on how they manage, and that likely wouldn't have happened if not for this.
Right.
And Brian, didn't you say at one point, doesn't your managing partner do like regular check-ins too or something?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of hierarchy, but our CEO is really focused on client check-ins and how we can make sure that we are regularly having conversations about the company's well-being and the client relationship, but more importantly, encouraging all of the relationship partners to do the same. So, there's not a standard script or a quota per se, but the expectation is now is the time that you should be having these conversations about horizon scanning or what's the future looking like, not waiting until we're there and then wondering why we're not getting time in their schedule because others have already taken advantage of that. So there's a lot of emphasis on the check-in, but not just to check the box, but to have a meaningful discussion and let them know that we're grateful for their business, but more importantly, care about how we can help them in an authentic way.
Great. So for everybody that is doing, the good stuff and realizing that change has to happen, there's always the problem children. So KPMG did a survey that was in 2018, so we weren't even in the middle of any kind of downturn, and found it was a survey of corporate leaders regarding specifically innovation, and the barriers that they suggested were 55% of them said that politics, turf wars, internal issues would not lead them to be able to be innovative. 45% said cultural issues. 42% said that an inability to prepare for an uncertain future, which is kind of ironic when you consider what has happened now, because yeah, you probably couldn't have planned very well for this. And then of course there's the usual lack of budget, lack of strategy. So the question out of this is, you know, are there some major naysayers? Are there some real issues that need to get addressed before you can move on to getting to the innovation? Or is it just like you kind of just move those people to the side and get going because you have to?
So I know at our firm, and those of you who've met my managing partner know this already, he's very young, aggressive, innovative. He wants people to step up and say, I got this, I got an idea, I got this, and he will give you the, you know, if it makes sense, the resources. We even had so much resistance as I think we need more innovation, getting it. So I think, and people say they're busy so they can't be innovative. I'm finding out, boy, they're becoming really innovative over this time period. Some of the products and services that have come out of this, by the way, I don't know if everyone else's experiences have been awesome. And doing it without, you know, really any budgets. So I think it's pressure from the times and what's going on that has made them more innovative. That's all I can say. It has not been a lack of resources or encouragement. It's more of necessity now. So they're creating some really cool products and services.
Yeah, I would just add, I think part of this challenge is defining what innovation looks like. It is really, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Typically, it's tied to technology upgrades or some sort of you know, automation. That's not always how we see it. I mean, we view ourselves as a really innovative law firm, and I have the added benefit of being able to draw upon experiences from a number of professionals in other regions across the globe. So there's a larger kind of brain trust to discuss with. But we've done some things that we think are innovative, but aren't necessarily tied to technology. I mean, in March, like many other firms, we launched a COVID-19 hub that became a resource for insights and guidance on how do you deal with these novel business issues that are still kind of unraveling. In June, we decided to pivot to coming up with a new dynamic hub, which is our way of saying, this is not just a pandemic. This is a long-term change of how business is going to be conducted. And through that portal and along with some social media campaigns, you know, really focusing on in-house counsel and other decision makers, helping companies learn how to pivot from how they've historically operated to how do you deal with remote workers, supply chain resiliency, technology or digital strategy changes, you know, among others. So, you know, in our world, that's innovative, but it didn't require a significant monetary investment. It just took a little elbow grease and some decision making. I think sometimes we suffer from trying to build so much consensus that something just never gets off the ground. I think we're fortunate that we have a lot of support from our leadership to come up with ideas, and sometimes that's a catch-22 because one of the things we've done recently is conduct a revenue brainstorming session where we invited participants from a number of practices to share ideas and, you know, how do we help clients in different ways. I think we had over 60 ideas about things that marketing could do to help with their client development. We don't have the bandwidth to implement all of that. And so there's some management of expectations, but the idea is give people a forum to talk about what they're seeing from their views, from their clients, from their perspectives, kind of boil that into something that's actually actionable,
Right.
and build on that. So, we see innovation as a way to help really anticipate what's coming. And while nobody has a crystal ball, the more we can be thoughtful about at least some considerations around that, I think the better it positions us. It
Yeah.
is just, it's a challenge uh, when you until you define what innovation looks like for your respective firms.
But we,
Yeah, I will go ahead, Jeanne.
I saw something recently, I think it was a CMO SIG. Somebody asked about, they want to start a consultancy. And their firm did in some area, I forget what it was. I will tell you, so that's pretty, consultancies, to a law firm, even though they've been going on for 25 years, are sort of, innovative, can be innovative, that kind of stuff. We've tried to do it 3 times and it's failed 3 times. So again, it sort of just comes with, and my marketing people, Julie on my team has put her heart and soul into this thing every time. And it's like, oh, here we go again, setting up for failure. And we're not learning from it. But I know there's other firms that have been very innovative and been able to come up with some really cool consultancies that have worked. And I think it just, again, the innovation, depends on the person driving it. It really does.
So I will share one of the things that Jen had told me that she has experienced and done is a hackathon for problems, where they have given it, the case that she was telling me was specifically about associates, like, looking at your newer folks that haven't been in the organization for as long, and getting some fresh eyes on, like, what are the problems that you see, and giving them permission to, okay, like, just, forget who and where and how, but how would you solve this problem? And she's like, there was actually a competition at one of the firms she was in for, identifying a problem, coming up with a solution to the problem, and then they actually presented it to the management committee, and the best sort of problem solution combo ended up getting accepted by the management committee and implemented. So, just kind of innovative ways to deal with innovative problems, and how do you solve them? So I thought that was one of the interesting things that she brought up. She also pointed out just some of the stuff on mental health and ways for law firms to be creative. May is Mental Health Month, and working with the Bar Association on their stuff for that Mental Health Week was something that she really felt like each firm could take that, and you already had content made that the National Task Force for Lawyer Wellbeing was developing. You didn't have a whole lot of work to do, but you could take it and make it your own and run with it. So again, sometimes figuring out how to be innovative, there's people out there that are willing to, help push you and go with it. So
Cecilia, to that end too, I know that our head of recruiting, legal recruiting here, also reached out to the law schools and did, had mental health days, whatever, where they would do yoga and things like that. So again, thinking sort of outside the box in the future of the firm is making sure you're reaching to those people as well. So.
Right. Well, all right. So we are not at the end of the hour, but we're getting closer to the end of the hour. I don't know. We've covered a lot of topics, and didn't know if you guys had any kind of closing comments as far as innovation and dealing with adversity. And it's okay if you don't, but wanted to give you a chance for anything that I may have missed in asking my fun and fabulous questions. Words of wisdom.
Well, I'll go first just because I don't want to repeat anything that Jeanne might say. So
I want to repeat what he says.
I think one of the things that I have to continuously remind myself that, everybody handles stress differently, and the pandemic has really disrupted people's lives in so many ways, both personally and professionally. And for me as a manager, I think it's important to wave the flag every now and then and be really positive about what's going well. Make sure people know about that, communicate it, be really empathetic when situations arise, because you just don't know what somebody's dealing with if they're not available when they usually would be if they were sitting around the corner in the office. And just be really generous when individuals are in need of my time. So, try to be really open with my team. If they need a conversation, make myself available whenever I possibly can, because I want to be helpful, and but more importantly, I want to be somebody that they rely on, because we have to stay together in this. There's just too much, too many influences that can disrupt your day or disrupt your team. And if I'm not acting in a positive way, being empathetic or being available, then it just really kind of compromises the team's productivity. I found that a brief call to just check in on somebody can go a long way. I mean, Zoom is certainly one medium. Email, obviously, I think my email inbox has tripled in size in the last couple of months. But a phone call can really make a difference. And so I would encourage you all, especially if you have team members that are not in the same geography you're in, to think about a 5-minute check-in. It can just be, hey, how are you doing? Hey, what's going on? Did you see this or that? All of that will really help them feel connected and engaged, especially for those that just haven't had a remote working experience before. All of that is important to help bring people together, but ideally reduce stress and just create a little bit more harmony while we're dealing with all these different unknowns.
Right. And I think, not to over accentuate what you've already said, but I've been fortunate. The majority of my team's been with me the 15 years I've been here, so we're a very close team. That we we have a text group at night that we talk about stupid TV or whatever's going on. But what I've learned from this, because I've always thought I was a pretty empathetic person and pretty understanding, is I don't understand, because they're young parents and what they're going through. And so I've really had to take a step back and try to put some boundaries up and understand what they're going through with this whole, education and babysitting and just childcare in general. So, I think you need to really put your empathy gene on when you're working with your team. But if I would say a couple of things I think you can do to really sort of stand out in your firm right now and to help out, like I did, go to your managing partner and offer to put together an agenda for whether it's a partner, associate, and staff meetings, and say, let me help you give the positive messages, bring in the other operations areas, but you know what, make it your agenda with the managing partner, so there's positive stuff going out. And again, to your point, the people know what you're doing, Brian. The people know that your team's working through all this. Reinvigorate your client assessment program, or start one. Even with 1 or 2 clients, just talk to them, say, how are you doing? What can we be doing better for you? Anything we can do. I mean, we've done more CLEs I think we've ever done for our clients right now, because they're taking them, they need them. Also reinvigorate your client service program if you have one. We have a first and service program. Encourage whoever the attorney or whomever might be in charge of your client service, internally and externally. It's a great time to review that and to look at it and then say, okay, what are our goals, our goals and our objectives for delivering top client service. I think it's a really good time to do that. And then finally, I say this all the time because I do enjoy mentoring and that kind of stuff. Reach out to each other. Every day I call somebody from this from the legal industry, marketing industry, and say, what are you doing for this? How are you doing that? Gosh, you guys all have some great ideas and have been very helpful to me and my team. So again, reach out to your legal marketing industry, either, from this group here through LMA or, even on LinkedIn. So I would encourage that.
Great. All right. Well, I want to thank you both for being here and taking the time and effort thinking about all this. We end every one of these with a quote and a toast. So today's quote comes from Gregory S. Williams. He's a scholar, attorney, law school professor, author, and former president of the University of Cincinnati and City College of New York. On the other side of a storm is the strength that comes from having navigated through it. Raise your sail and begin. So on that note, we raise our glass today and toast to the other side of the storm and coming out more resilient with better, innovative ideas.
Here am I.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
My good glass.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Thanks, everyone.